Yes, because it's at Glastonbury and there's an artist, apparently they're a punk band called Bob Villain. They don't look like a punk band, actually. But anyway, who knows?
But Bob Villain isn't the name of one of them, it's the name of both of them.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so who knows? Anyway, look, they appeared at Glastonbury and they were chanting Free Palestine. Right, OK, you might not agree with it, but we are a country of free speech, supposedly. But then it changed. Have a listen to this.
Free, free! Free, free! Alright, but have you heard this one, though? Death, death to the IDF! 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 Death, death to the IDF!
Disgusting.
I'm absolutely horrified, actually.
And that went out on the BBC. It's appalling, isn't it? A police probe has since been launched into the distressing comments made by the duo, and the government has strongly condemned the actions, demanding urgent answers from the BBC about how that was even allowed.
Let's talk to former Israeli government spokesman Eylon Levy, who joins us now. Good to see you this morning.
Morning.
We're horrified. And I've got to say, we are both a bit uncomfortable that we're playing it out.
Yes.
But I think we do need to give people a bit of context as to actually how this went last night. It just beggars belief that actually, whatever you think of the conflict, that you can start these death chants and get away with it.
Yeah, it's pretty grim. And, I'm speaking to you here not only as a former Israeli government spokesman, but as a Brit myself, born and raised in the UK. And it really breaks my heart to see the very serious domestic extremism problem that the UK has. This is a very serious radicalization problem emerging on the far left, but it's becoming increasingly mainstream. And it's glorifying violence, not just condoning, glorifying violence. And we're seeing where it leads. Just a few months ago, we had the Eurovision Song Contest. An activist from Youth Demand, another UK group, tried to climb on the stage and throw fake blood all over the Israeli contestant, who survived the Hamas October 7th massacre at a music festival. Just a few months ago, we had a stabbing attack here in Tel Aviv by a US resident who came in the country and started stabbing people in Tel Aviv. This is incitement to violence. And I really hope that the UK manages to stamp it out and gain control of it and understand how much this conflict is radicalizing, especially young people in the UK on the left, but it's becoming increasingly mainstream.
I mean, I think the worry as well is that it was broadcast on the BBC, and I gather from our previous interviewee that it was a good 33 seconds long, that death chant, and there is time to pull the plug on something like that, and so the BBC has serious questions to answer, doesn't it?
Major questions for the BBC and major questions for the people in the audience who were responding to that call and response. It wasn't just this chap on stage, whoever he is. There was an audience that was chanting back. And 33 seconds is a long time for, friends to poke their other friends in the ribs and say, hey, mate, that's really not on. Maybe we shouldn't be chanting death. We've become a little bit like the Death Eaters from Harry Potter. This is getting a little bit much. And I really hope that now that this has become national headlines, people will understand this is a serious domestic extremism problem brewing. It's not one or two isolated individuals. It is a whole movement of radical politics that has identified being pro-Palestinian as being something that you should support violence for. And it's extremely un-British. It's terrible that the BBC carried it. They should have pulled the plug. And I hope there'll be serious action to make sure that doesn't happen again. But again, just not broadcasting it isn't going to sweep the problem under the rug that this is a growing, increasingly violent movement within British society.
Look, in terms of sort of a silver lining to this, as awful as it is there a positive in this, in that we are talking about it? Because I can't help but think, and maybe I'm wrong, that even the guy on the stage, never mind the audience, are just a bit dim when they're doing all this stuff. They feel very passionate about whatever they're saying, but they're not actually aware of the consequences of what they're doing. So maybe this will make them stop and think.
No, I don't think they're dim. I think they know exactly what they're doing. And that's because this has been going on for so long that really people should know better. I mean, just look at these hate marches that have been taking place through the center of London since the October 7th massacre in solidarity with Hamas. Just look at what they've been chanting. The cries of globalize the Intifada. The Intifada was a wave of suicide bombings in Israel. Intifada means kill Jews, globalize the Intifada means kill them everywhere. The chants of from the river to the sea, which means no more Israel. I'm here in Tel Aviv, near the sea. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free means no more state of Israel. It's a genocidal chant against Israelis. And we have been warning people for nearly 2 years as these protests have been going on, what these chants mean. And people wanted to make excuses for them and sweep them under the rug and say they don't really mean it, that's not really what it means. And here we get to the stage that it's on stage in Glastonbury, people are chanting it back from the audience because in many parts of British society, and it really hurts me to say this, these cries have become normal and people didn't bat an eyelid. And it's the fact that people in the audience didn't bat an eyelid that is even more disturbing than the fact that he thought he could chant it on stage and get away.
Indeed.
Get away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to leave it there, Eylon. Thank you very much indeed, though, for joining us this morning. And we'll have to give you the official BBC line. A BBC spokesperson has said some of the comments made during Bob Villan's performance were deeply offensive. During this live stream on iPlayer, which reflected what was happening on stage, a warning was issued on screen about the very strong and discriminatory language. We have no plans to make the performance available on demand.
I'm sorry, an on-screen warning that you may find some of this offensive is not enough if someone is chanting death chants.
Yeah, but also if they had the foresight to actually put that warning there, well, then they should have been monitoring it more carefully anyway.
Well, what it says to me is because all this stuff is done live now and you can type all that in, say, right, we need to put a warning on, type, and on it goes. But actually, what they should have done is put what they call a slate up, just saying, this broadcast has been interrupted, and pull it.
Yeah.
You should have pulled it. There can be no... Surely it's illegal.
Yes.
Surely that is an incitement to hatred, to racial hatred, That can't be a thing. If they were saying something against black people or Asian people or anything, or gay people or anything else, they would have pulled it.
Well, Lisa Nandy, who's... Culture Secretary, put a call straight into Tim Davie, the Director General of the BBC, and wanted to know certain things. We haven't heard what he said back, actually, but I think the BBC need to produce a much stronger answer than just that statement.
They didn't show Kneecap followed that act.
And they'd already made the decision.
They'd made the decision that they weren't going to show that.
Yeah.
They might not have realised what this particular act was going to do, but then they should have pulled it.
Yeah. Somebody should have been watching and pulled it straight. There's no excuse.
No.